Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon the Holy Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, and his immaculate progeny and Ahlul Bayt. Dear brothers and sisters all around the world, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to yet another edition from series of Quran and Today's Life. As you might have already been following these series of shows, we are trying to have a thematic exegesis of the Holy Quran. In our recent discussion, we started a discussion on the spirituality in the Holy Quran and from a Quranic perspective. We talked about the value and excellence of this concept and notion from a Quranic perspective, and also we talked about the self-purification and different stages of it. 3 stages were defined for that, and different details of that were clarified in our previous shows. Inshallah, in this very show we shall be trying to continue our discussion with some other aspects of this important issue in the holy and divine book of Allah. For this important discussion, we are joined by respected scholar Sheikh Hujjatullah Dawoodi from prestigious Hawza Ilmi of Qom, Islamic Republic of Iran. Before starting the discussion, I'd like to welcome him to this show and say salam to you, and thank you for your accepting our invitation to this show.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I will say hello to you and all of the viewers. Inshallah, we are going to have a good discussion together.
Thank you very much. I think in our last show, we finalized our discussion with the last stages of self-purification. Today, inshallah, we're trying to talk about the self and, let's say, the soul, and bringing up ourselves, the tactics which are needed for that. Now that we are trying to be, inshallah, a traveler in the spiritual journey toward perfection, how should we know in order to bring up our soul in the best possible manner?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khayri khalqihi Muhammad wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin al-ma'sumin. Salawatullah alayhim ajma'in. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. The topic we were talking about was spirituality, especially from the Quranic verses and perspective and point of views. Inshallah, today we are going to talk about different ways to struggle with ourselves. After finding out different phases and levels and tactics for purifying our soul and ourselves. Now we will reach to different ways how to struggle with the self that we have.
That's true.
Because our soul and self, the selves that we have, sometimes has been determined which has different views, a good part and bad part. Sometimes we have nafs al-lawwama. This is a special, soul or part of the soul that we call it self, that all the time is warning us. Yeah. So lawwama means something that warns us.
Exactly.
Yes. So
what ways are suggested for this struggling against the soul and the self, and what is the necessity of such a struggle?
I think because it has been called as an enemy, because referring to some of the hadith and riwayat narrations from the Holy Prophet and also the infallible Imams, we find out that we have 2 different kinds of enemies. The enemy which is outside and we see them, okay, those are the enemies of Muslims, Islams, or so on. And there is another enemy which is inside ourselves. So ourself, if we let it free, okay, can lead us to the hell, can lead us to something against morality and so on. So if I want to overcome my soul, myself, which has, the bad part, so we need a special struggle. But of course, the ways of this struggle is different.
Does it mean that our soul and self naturally and intrinsically is bad, and it has, as you said, a bad part that it should be controlled?
It has 2 parts, of course, because if it is containing of one part, a good part, the human beings cannot be examined, and the hell and heaven is useless. Why some people go to the heaven, some go to the hell? Because of their activities. If the self has just only one side, the good part of it, just
You mean potentially we have
yes,
these two sides?
of course, yeah, potentially. There, two sides are, I say the creatures of God. So I should go backward, to clarify the situation here and say that the creatures that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created are, different. Some of them are called, angels. The angels have one part. This is just only, the virtue part, the good part of these kinds of creatures. They never commit any sin or so on. And of course, shayateen, and evil, beings. These evil beings have just only one part, and bad, deeds. They do bad deeds or so on. But human being is containing both parts. And because of this, all the time we are going to be examined.
Very true.
These are, called fitna, or a kind of examination, a kind of test.
Okay.
So, and because of this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created heaven and hell. If just I as a human being have one part, this is the good part you mean. So there shouldn't be any hell. There is no need, of course, because just the human being we can say that has one part, but we do not agree with that. We say it is containing of good and bad part.
So I think now the addressee of our discussion, and let's say the focus of our discussion, is on the, in fact, bad part of the soul,
Exactly.
Which is named as internal or inside enemy.
Exactly.
Okay. What are the ways and methods of this
So
struggle?
we say it is a kind of a struggle, referring to some riwayah and hadith, narrations from our Prophet that he called it greater jihad, greater, war. Yeah. It is very famous that once they were coming back from one of the wars that the Holy Prophet had with some of his enemies. When they were back home, to Medina or somewhere else, he started to talk to his, companion and called them, you are back from a war. You overcome your enemies, but the greater, war has been left. He said, oh, really? Is there another war? Which enemy? Is that the greater enemy? The Prophet explained that, yes, the greater war is the war with yourself. Because of different things. Because, for example, one of the most important part is that we see our enemies, that they are in front of us, and we are going to have a war with them. But our self, the self, which is the bad part of our self, cannot be seen. We cannot see it. So it is very difficult, of course. And with different things that, inshallah...
Is it the reason of this danger that is reported to be, the greater enemy, or the greater jihad is needed for that? What is the reason? Is it just because it cannot be seen?
One of them is this, yes. One of them is this. Of course, it has got different parts as well that, inshallah, I'm going to explain. Okay. But one of them is, yes, because we cannot see it. You see, which part of the war is more difficult? To have a war with your enemy during the daytime or at night. Of course, during the daytime is very easier because you can see everywhere as easily. Everything is clear, but at night, So most of these struggles and wars are going to be committed and happened at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's back to our previous question, that is the struggle, the methods of this struggle. You just emphasized on the importance of this enemy. So how should we overcome this enemy? What are the ways, methods? So
as far as I remember, in previous session we explained about one of the ways that we call it muraqabah. Yeah, so attentiveness or taking care of ourselves. So one of the things is like that, this type of a struggle is not with the guns, or it is not with, sword or so on, but we are going to have a special kind of struggle. one of them is taking care carefully, all the time we have. So one of the things which is, of course, mentioned in Holy Quran about this war is all the time we should mention Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, فَذَكِّرْ إِن نَفَعَتِ الذِّكْرَى إِنَّ الذِّكْرَى تَنْفَعُ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. So, when all the time we are supposing that there is someone who can see us, okay?
Exactly.
So, we do not call it a kind of, war, but of course this is. Or maybe worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a creator for us. In Islam, the place that we are going to have to pray is called mihrab. In Arabic, okay, it means the place of war. Mihrab in Arabic, when we translate it into English, it means the place for war. War with what? Who?
With the soul.
Whom are we going to? Of course, yeah. With Satan, of course, the evil beings, or ourselves, which is one part of it is related to the evil.
Yeah.
So it is very important.
So muraqabah, or let's say attentiveness, is one of the methods.
It is one of the methods, and I think it is the way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We have no other way. For example, we
Only
cannot take a
muraqabah,
gun and go fight with it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Let's ask another question related to the topic. If I'm not quite sure that it's totally related or not, but we have a concept in Quran which is called qalbun salim. What does it mean? What does this qalbun salim mean? Can it help us any in this spiritual journey toward the perfection that we have?
Exactly. I think it really needs a separate session to explain about Qalb Salim in Holy Quran. But yes, it is related to our, discussion. Qalb Salim, of course, means when we are using the spirituality as a kind of medicine, because there are some people who have a special disease in their hearts. Of course, I do not mean the physical disease, heart attack or so on. When we are talking about the heart, we mean about to know themselves. You see some people that they are jealous. Yeah, jealousy is a kind of disease. But what kind of disease is it? Nobody can examine it in a laboratory or somewhere else to say that, this person has a special kind of disease. Because I find out that there is for example, bad virus inside his blood, or for example, in this part of the body doesn't work well, or so on. Jealousy, as a kind of...
So, as the translation of Qalb Salim goes, which means healthy heart, so do you mean that this healthy is, in fact, referred to the health from any spiritual illnesses or diseases? Is it that?
Exactly, yes.
So how can we purify our hearts? Exactly, we should be back to the self-purification process that we have covered already, or any other treatment from Quranic perspective.
Okay, so I think one of the things that inshallah today, or maybe the next session, we are going to talk about it separately is about Qalb Salim and the ways that we are going to talk about it. Because in Holy Quran, after that we call it, the spirituality has been called as a type of, war.
Yeah.
We say that spirituality has been called as a type of medicine.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is a relationship between Qalb Salim and spirituality. Yeah, spirituality has been called as a cure, as a medicine.
Exactly, very beautiful, yeah.
Okay.
So if a qalb, or if a heart is unhealthy, and then the treatment is spirituality. It should be cured with the spirituality.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. What else is left here from this discussion?
I wanted to mention one of the verses of Holy Quran. Is the time?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So related to Surah 2, the verse number 10, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا. So the heart in Holy Quran has been divided in two parts.
Yeah,
there
true.
are some hearts that there is a disease inside them. Okay, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them في قلوبهم مرض. Yeah, there is a bad disease inside their hearts. And also another types of heart, as you mentioned, qalb salim, the very, very pure heart. Yeah, so salim here,
free
healthy,
from any illnesses.
Yes, of course.
Any
So when we
spiritual
say
illnesses.
healthy, we are not talking about the physical part of the heart. We say that pure heart.
Exactly. Okay, thank you. Let's have the rest of our discussion after a very short break. We have been talking about the ways of struggling and, let's say, bringing up the selves inside ourselves and the importance of knowledge of this self, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the traditions, in fact, tell us that it is named as the greater war, or let's say greater jihad. So this concept should be known very exactly and accurately. We thank Sheikh Dawoodi for his explanations. We'll be back after a few seconds. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Quran in Today's Life and our discussion about the spirituality in the Holy Quran. We talked about the ways of struggling the self and bringing up the self from a Quranic perspective. And also we talked about the qalbun salim, or let's say healthy heart. What does healthy heart mean in the Holy and Divine Book of Allah? Sheikh Hujjatullah Dawoodi was explaining and elaborating on this issue. But now we have some other questions to be asked here from your presence. The topic of Qalb Salim is not quite clear for us. How can we, for sure we know that by healthy heart, we mean a heart which is free from any illnesses, spiritual illnesses. So how can we make our hearts salim, free from these sort of spiritual diseases? And what is the importance of having such a heart? Is it again on the continuation of this spiritual journey toward perfection? And what is needed to be known by the respected viewers?
Very good. Yes, first of all, the term has come from the Holy Quran.
Exactly.
When we say healthy or maybe pure heart, we mean that in Holy Quran has, this term has been mentioned exactly with this word.
qalb
salim,
salim.
For example, وَلَا تَحْزَنِ يَوْمَ يُبْعَثُونَ يَوْمَ لَا تُنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ
بقلب سليم.
قَلْبًا سَلِيمًا. So it is talking about the resurrection, when all of the people have a special, fear in their side, and they are frightening so much, and they are so nervous. But there are some people who are so calm. Who are they? So, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ here, those people who have pure heart, healthy heart. And also, when we refer to some other verses of Holy Quran, in Surah number 37, the verse number 83 and 84, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning the Prophet Abraham, he is talking, إِنَّ مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ لَإِبْرَاهِيمَ إِذْ جَاءَ رَبَّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Yeah. So one of the special features, good features of the Prophet Abraham is having a pure heart.
Mm-hmm.
So it means if we have a pure heart, so we can be a prophet. Without having a pure heart, the prophet cannot be a prophet. So it is very important.
Exactly.
One of the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned about good features of Ibrahim is mentioning إِذْ جَاءَ رَبَّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ.
Exactly, very beautiful.
And of course, it means that it is very important having such a kind of pure and healthy heart.
So do you have any Quranic evidences or tradition that guides us to reach to this point, that is to have a qalbun salim and a healthy heart? Is there a way known by Quran and tradition that guide us in this way?
Okay, when we say that this is very important, we are exactly referring to Surah number 37, the verse number 83 and 84. because in that surah, and especially those ayahs, this is the Holy Prophet Abraham who is praying to God to give him this pure heart. So what do prophets and the prophets generally want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? These are very important things, the things that they need to guide the others and to fulfill their mission. These are the things that the prophets want from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Mm-hmm. There is no prophet who asks Allah about these worldly things. For example, Allah give me a house or something like this or so on. But what was the prayer of Abraham? It was
to give him a healthy
health. So it shows the importance of having such a.
So in fact, one of the ways of reaching to such a status of having a healthy heart is to have supplications and du'as from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because as you said, Ibrahim asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Very good, very good. So if we want it, okay, we can reach it. Without wanting it, the same as other ways that we explained, without wanting ourselves, we cannot reach Qalb Salim. Okay. And also, I want to refer to Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahjul Balagha, the sermon number 388. Okay. He explains that Allah alam wa inna min al-bala al-faqa. Imam Ali alayhi salam has mentioned that the poverty is one of the things which is called one of the bala. We say bad things that happen to the people. Mm-hmm. And of course, ashaddu min al-faqa maradul badan. The worse than this poverty is illness, because the
material illness.
Of course, the illness
of our physical
body, of course. Mm-hmm. And of course, worse than that, ashaddu min maradul badan maradul qalb. So worse than our physical illnesses, there is
the spiritual illness.
Spiritual illnesses.
Mm-hmm.
So in Arabic, when they are talking about maradul qalb or heart, here means the spirituality. Yeah, for example, when somebody loves another person, okay, the shape that they sometimes they paint and draw is like a heart. They do not refer to know this physical part of the body, which is called our heart. It means that here, there is something inside our body which is related to some aspects that cannot be seen, like sadness, happiness, love, different, senses that we have.
One may have.
Exactly.
I have heard something from one of the scholars. I don't know whether it has any Quranic or traditional basis or not, but I want you to correct me if it's wrong and mistaken. I heard that spiritual diseases are cured by recitation of the Quran and pondering upon the verses of the Quran. I don't know, does it have any, Quranic basis or traditional, or no, it was just his own experience of that?
I think most of the things, because in Holy Quran, just we have some cues, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and these are the Aimah and infallible Imams that they are going to explain the Holy Quran. So many things that we have are from the Holy Quran, and because of that, we call them two wings. إِنِّي تَارِكٌ فِيكُمُ الثَّقْلَيْنِ or ثِقْلَيْنِ Kitab Allah wa itrati. It means that both the Holy Quran and also the infallible Imams, okay, the Itra and of course the households of the Holy Prophet, both of them are needed to lead us to salvation.
Right.
So of course we say that they are equal, okay? Both Holy Quran and the
prescriptions from these two wings can help us in treatment of these spiritual diseases.
And because of this, I explained about some of the sermons of Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahjul Balagha, because we know, everyone knows that Imam Ali alayhi salam was one of the Huffaz of the Holy Quran, and he was the great person as well.
Okay. Since our discussion was related to the understanding and knowledge of the self, and at the very beginning of discussion, we pointed that it was known to be a war, and then a greater war, a holy war, let's say, as we call it in Islamic term, as jihad. Why is it called war? Though we have referred to some part of it, but I wanted to be more meticulous in this part. Why is it called war first, and then why the greater war?
Very good. A very good question. Yeah, we call it a
Though
war.
we have 2 or some 3 minutes to finalize our discussion, I want you to be brief in the answer. I would be thankful.
Okay, I try to say it quickly.
Thank you.
But first of all, we refer to the Holy Quran. وَجَاهَدُوا فِي اللَّهِ حَقَّ جِهَادِهِ. Yeah. When we say jahadu fillah, it doesn't mean that the special war with sword or so on. It means everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that it is good for you, we have to act according to that, and we do not do everything which is forbidden for us. Jahadu fillahi haqqa jihadi.
Yes.
And also alladhina jahadu fina lanahdiyannahum subulana. Those who are struggling for us, okay, I am going to guide them. So what kind of a struggle and war is it? It's because of that, because in Holy Quran has been, inshallah, if there is time.
Sure, inshallah.
Of course,
Once
I will
again, I
explain
thank
more.
you for your, in fact, enlightening answer to the questions which were posed here. And thank you, respected viewers, for staying tuned up to this point with our discussion and the topic of our discussion, that is spirituality in the Holy Quran and different ways of struggling and, let's say, bringing up the soul and the self as one of the important notions of purification of the soul. Inshallah, we shall be continuing our discussion on the spirituality in the Holy Quran in our next shows. We have some other concepts to be discussed in our coming sessions. We hope to have you then. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.